Welcome to the Nightmares Podcast, where we talk about everything horror. With me, as always, are Mark, Zach, Victor, and we have a very special guest today, Lon from Black Martin Brands. Welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks.
We're so happy to have you. And he is our very, very first in-studio guest.
Woo!
We've never had an in-studio guest before, so we finally have someone that was willing to come and hang out with us. We feel better about ourselves.
Right?
Nobody wants to play with us.
We're those kids. The check is in the mail, Lon.
Thanks.
So we are specifically talking about J-horror. Lon, way back when, we all, if you have to remember when we actually recorded his particular podcast, we're talking about it, and we're talking about the topics we do on the podcast. And Lon was like, "When you guys talk about J-horror, you gotta have me on." And we were like, "Done." So that is what we were talking about today.
It took us a while, but we kept the promise.
Only about a year. I think it's under a year.
Maybe a little bit more than a year, actually.
Actually, more. Because I remember
we filmed in January.
Our interview with you was in March. Because it was literally the last thing we did before the shutdowns happened.
Oh, yeah, I remember that part. Okay,
literally, I think we recorded it on a Sunday, and then Monday, all the restaurants were closed.
Wow.
So.
And then a couple days later, Victor and I had a gig, and we were worried we would be cut out of state lines, but luckily that didn't happen.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was a whole conversation, and it was quite the thing. It was quite the ordeal.
Yes.
So typically in guest fashion, so every time we have a topic, we usually give the guest the option to go first, or they can go last. It's entirely up to you, but we do give the privilege over to you, sir. So if you want to kick it off, you can, or you can pass the buck. It's entirely up to you.
All right. Well, so let me frame things up a little bit here.
Absolutely.
So the thing is, I remember during the interview, you said, "Did you see House?" I think, or something like that, and I was like, "Oh my God, yeah!" And I reeled off a few more Japanese horror movies, and you were like, "Oh, I love that one," and it was like we were fanboying about the whole thing, right? We're like,
what, Brandon fanboying? That never happens ever.
And that's when we started talking about it, and then when we started talking about getting ready for this episode, we put out a list, and it was hard to keep it to a certain amount of films.
Yeah.
Because we found out, there's a ton of good J-horror that I wanted to talk about. And he pulled out a few that I didn't even watch yet. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to find these. I still didn't find one of them, but because that's the other thing. It's not like it's really that easy to find around here, even with streaming online services.
Yeah. I know that one of the videos I was trying to watching, fucking Shudder just would not load Ringu. It would not load it. It was driving me insane. I had to go and rent it another way. Because for whatever reason on my phone and on the TV it would just not load.
That's weird.
It drove me nuts.
Because I remember one time I tried watching the Italian movie Demons on Shudder. Wouldn't load on my TV, so I watched it on my phone.
Wow, that's interesting.
But it loaded on your phone,
it loaded on my phone,
but not your TV?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
That was the only movie too.
I think Shudder's having some issues with the TV portion of their app.
Really?
I think they haven't quite got all the bugs when it comes to that. But
I just try to search through and find whatever I can find because different apps, on the Hulu TV, whatever, you can find different things or whatever. Roku, the Roku TVs, you can find different things. And if I don't have it, I'll install the app, watch the movie, get rid of the app.
Yeah.
Whatever I can do. But
one place you can go is YouTube. A lot of the movies or Japanese horror movies that I've watched, they're just on YouTube.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
The only problem is a lot of these movies seem to have 2 or 3 different titles. So you gotta all right, is it this title? Nope. Is it this title? Nope. Well, shit.
And then you know what, the one I wanted to watch, but I just did not have the time to get to. But maybe you have as well. I did that fact on. It's called the Devil's Experiment, guinea pig. Devil's
pig.
Okay, so that was a fact of the day that I did. Charlie Sheen was so freaked out by this movie. He was convinced that somebody actually got murdered in this movie. So he called the FBI in '91. This movie came out in '83 or '84. And he called the FBI, and the FBI actually opened up an investigation on this particular J-horror movie. Which isn't the first time that's happened. It happened on Hannibal Holocaust. So it's happened on a couple different occasions, but it's just hilarious that Charlie Sheen specifically saw this movie. He's like, this is too real. Someone died. I'm probably high on cocaine.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call the FBI. Which, I mean, that's just the greatest thing to do. When you're high on coke, is to call the police. Shit, man, I think somebody actually died in this fucking movie. Charlie, are you high again? This is like the 5th time you called. I didn't get a chance to see. I don't know. Have you seen that?
No. So here's the thing with those movies. There's a series of them. The Guinea Pig 1, 2, 3, 4, but they all have different names, and each name is a set of like 3 guinea pig movies. So literally, it's like torture porn in a way. It's really just kind of Guinea Pig 1 came out early 80s, like you said, I think 83 or whatever, and they played all through the 80s. Every couple of years, a new set would come out.
Oh.
And if you go on Amazon, you can find them.
Uh-huh.
You can get the sets of them. The problem is they might not be dubbed or they might not be translated or anything. So that's half the way. I watch half the horror movies. I mean, the Japanese horror movies, without subtitles or without dubbing and stuff because you can figure it out. You can figure out what they want. They really act out these.
Do you really need subtitles for bloody muscle bodybuilder in hell?
No,
Right.
I don't think you do.
Right.
So,
Right.
I don't. So would you like to pass, sir? Or would you like to take the mantle and
No,
run
you
with
mean
it?
with starting with a movie?
Yeah,
Pick a movie to start
absolutely.
with?
Do your picks.
What do you got?
Yeah,
All
what
right.
do you got?
I got. I tried to snap. That didn't work.
It did.
I've got a list. I put them in chronological order of when they came out, just because that kind of makes sense. Now there was a bunch of movies.
It's like Brandon Jr. We started the podcast, like Zach and I kind of come in with our 3, and then he's like, "Well, I have a list," and we did the shark one. He showed up with all the DVDs and then rated them. I
would have done this. I would have put them on my shelf in the order that either I liked them or chronologically.
So we're all nerds, but there is certainly a champion of who is the most nerdy of all of us, and it's definitely Brandon.
Yeah.
Definitely Brandon.
Would you concur?
I feel like I'm on trial here, but I'm going to plead guilty, Your Honor.
Yeah. It's probably for the best.
Yep.
No use lying.
No.
So you can't really start talking about J-horror unless you start with the godmother of J-horror, which is House.
Yes.
Right? So House came out in 1977, and it was just batshit crazy.
All right.
I mean, if you want to call it horror, I don't even know if they called it horror back then.
I don't know that.
Yeah, it was just batshit crazy stuff.
And actually, a friend of ours, Marcus, our assistant director, messaged me the other day saying he watched House for the first time. And what's funny is he actually asked me, "Have you heard of this movie, House? If you guys ever talk about Japanese horror movies, I think it'll be a great one. Or it'd be a great screening room."
And there you are sitting with your House shirt on, going, "Huh, never heard of it."
So when he messaged me that, because he specifically worded it as, "Have you heard of House?"
Wow.
I had my friend Justin with me at the time. So I actually took my House shirt, held it in front of me, had Justin take a picture of me holding the House shirt, and I sent that to Marcus.
Where did you find that shirt?
Criterion Collection.
Really?
I don't know if they still sell it, but back when I was in college, they did have the House shirt as part of their merchandise.
Yeah, because they've got the
And
movie now, so.
there's also a video on YouTube of Bill Hader going through the Criterion closet. And he's wearing the House shirt as well.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So,
That's fantastic.
I mean, that movie did become a cult classic.
Yes.
There's a lot of people who know and love that movie. Hence the reason it's in the Criterion Collection to begin with, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a great, great movie. I watched it again the other night. I've seen it a handful of times. First time I saw it, no translation whatsoever. I had no idea what they were saying, and you didn't need to.
Why is there this cartoon cat thing happening?
Right. But see, that was part of it.
Yeah.
Part of the fun was that the cartoon, the animation were so bad. Well, it's 77, so,
Yeah.
you know.
Well,
take it with a grain of
also, I've only seen the movie once in college, but I also watched the extra features on the Blu-ray as well.
Oh, jeez.
And the
You really
one
geeked out over
thing
there.
I specifically remember is the director was actually a director for Japanese commercials. So he brought a lot of the techniques they use for commercials into
Really?
the movie.
Okay. All right. You got to have experience somewhere.
So all right, so because I know a lot of people probably in the audience don't know what this movie is, you want to give them a little rundown on House?
Sure. You want to do it? You want me to
Teenage
do it?
girls in a haunted house. Crazy stuff happens. You just gotta see it to believe it.
Okay.
Honestly, honestly, that's true because it's a group of teenage girls who go to this one girl's aunt's house out in the country.
If I
in
remember
Illinois.
right, the girls don't even have names.
They
go by like their
go by nicknames.
personalities.
They go by nicknames, which are their
right.
personalities,
Yeah.
right? So there's beautiful or whatever, or gorgeous. Gorgeous was one of them. There was karate, not karate. What was her name? Chops. I don't remember. Chops.
Yeah, it was something karate.
You make him sound like fucking Japanese Spice Girls.
That's what they
Pretty
are.
much.
Anything like that. High school versions of it.
It was almost like they're just like, nobody's going to remember their names anyway,
Yeah.
so let's just make their personalities or their special traits their name.
That is true.
It would be like if you call me cinematographer, or Zach VFX person, or Victor Gaffer, or Mark Italian.
We do that already.
Yeah.
See, that would have worked better if you skipped Victor and just said the comedy of three. But it's not like
Victor's,
you know that.
Victor's part of
Yes, he
group.
is.
I'm not going to exclude Victor.
Yes, he is. But anyway,
Sensitive bastard.
I know.
Well, so in that, the thing is, they all have distinctively different personalities. And so when they go through this haunted house, they're not going through it. They're living there with the aunt. And I don't want to spoil the whole aunt's role and everything, but...
and how can you?
yeah, right. Even at the end of the movie, you're still like, but wait, how
Like
did...
this is
with
what
the-"
if we wanted to, we could literally give you a blow-by-blow play out of what happens.
Oh, yeah.
And if you see it, you'll still be surprised by what you're seeing.
Fair
And
enough.
everybody has their run-in with something that relates to their personality trait or their name, and it's just entertaining as hell, Mark.
Nice. House is one you got to say. So
Yeah, House is probably the biggest one. We talked a little bit about Guinea Pig. It's on my list. I kind of took it off the list because not everybody's seen it, and they're sort of considered really kind of taboo movies. And
Fair enough.
there was an American version they did, of the Guinea Pig movies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they took some of the movies and they did an American version, and I think it's called Diabolique or something like that.
Diabolique?
That could be it, but it's not the one you're thinking of, not the one from the 70s.
Not the French 1950s.
No.
Okay.
Right, that's the one with the blood and pushing
Yeah.
down in the head. No, not that one. It's similar name though.
Okay.
But it's kind of just graphic violence for graphic violence sake. They didn't really do much with the stories of the guinea pig they're all torture movies, right? That's what they are. Have you seen any of the guinea pigs?
No.
Okay, they're very, very difficult to get. So, okay. Then we go on to another one. I know you, Tetsuo, Iron Man. See, look at the smile on his face. As soon as I said Tetsuo. This is an art film. This is not a date film. This is not a.
Says you.
I'm telling you, this is all right. So give me your spiel on it, Tetsuo. Don't get me wrong. I love the movie.
Yes.
But I'm an art geek too, so.
So the first time I saw Tetsuo was at the Music Box of Horrors.
In Chicago, the Music Box? Yeah.
Yep.
And my friend Justin had seen it at least once, maybe a couple times before. And he told me, let me know when you get to a certain part. I'm not going to say what it is, but you're going to know what it is when you see it. And it was, of course, the drill penis.
Oh, yes. Okay. All right.
So Tetsuo is basically a body horror
Yeah.
film. Well, there's no basically about it. It is.
Pretty much that's what it's
That's
all about.
all it is. And it was like, so there's like this like mechanical witch type person.
Yeah.
And then there's this guy who wrongs her, and basically he gets turned into Tetsuo the Iron Man. But it's not a cool Iron Man like Robert Downey Jr. This is a man literally transforming into machine parts.
Wow.
Flailing tubes and
like a drill penis.
a drill penis. I love the surprise on her face when that came out. Yeah. Yeah.
God.
Very reminiscent of the ending of Akira.
Oh. You don't call it Akira? Akira?
Akira.
I've
only ever read it.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Drill.
I
didn't care for it.
All right.
That should be the selling point there, right there. Like that's like like, hey, I got 2 words for you, drill penis, and that's the end of it. That's the end of that. I mean,
Sequel's not as good.
Okay.
Worth
I
watching,
agree.
but not as good.
I agree.
And then that same director also did one called Hiroku the Goblin,
Yeah, I didn't see that one, but I know one.
which is like low budget Ghostbusters if the Ghostbusters were trying to clean ghosts out of a haunted school, and the goblins are like these severed heads with spider legs, and I had no idea what was going on for half of the movie, but I was never bored.
Yeah.
So like spider legs coming out of head like the Thing.
Not
That
exactly.
would have been badass.
I mean, it would have been. I'm just, like that's immediately where my brain went. I'm like that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
It's not as cool as that.
Okay, fair enough. They, well, I mean, I not everybody had the budget. What are you gonna do? They, so anyway.
Well, so did you, your overview of the thing, not the plot or anything else, but what did you think of it? Because we're talking, it's a black and white film. Not a lot of people like black and white films. Incredibly artful. Not a lot of talking in it either.
No.
It's very, very. You don't really need to translate a lot. A lot of weird special effects. The stop motion of him running through the street where he's in the same pose, but he just keeps through the streets.
Where the background's all...
And the background's jittery. And right. So that's a lot of weird stuff for a lot of people to take.
I like it.
Okay.
It's also
I'm not
Brandon.
surprised.
Brandon likes weird shit.
Yep.
Brandon's the one who introduced all of us to society. So I mean, so I mean,
If you like Society, you'll probably like Tetsuo.
then I'll probably like it because I do like Society. For all of its fuck uppery, I do like that movie.
Yeah.
But I detest you claiming that I like weird stuff. Like, name 3 weird things that I like.
Tetsuo, Society.
Don't you start.
Third.
It could be any media, so I'm gonna say "Come Into Me."
We talked about that
so
It's a good graphic novel.
one. Yeah.
Okay, when you start the conversation with "It's not porn," it's immediately red flags. Like
You know what? We're doing video for the podcast now. I will freaking bring that comic in so we can show our audience for once.
But Juan, though, it's literally that's the first thing out of his mouth. Two separate people on 2 separate occasions. It was Zach sees it on the table and he's like, and Brandon's like, "Don't worry, it's not porn." And it's like
Dude, the cover, it's just like, you just see these naked people sitting on the bed and these fleshy tubes going into them. And I'm just like...
Dude, it's like that Family Guy joke where like Quagmire, Peter comes with the Quagmire. He's like, "You ever jack off to old pictures of your mom?" And he's like, "Who the fuck starts a conversation like that? I just sat down, and that's the first thing out of Brandon's mouth. I haven't even put my coat down, and that's the first thing out of his. Don't worry, it's not porn."
That is not the sequence of events that I remember.
I looked down
But
at
you're
the thing.
surprised at that. Didn't he introduce you to Society the same way?
Oh no, he was smart enough not to say anything. He just so Zach and Wes got a surprise, and then and he literally took a picture with the DVD with them in the background, like they have no idea. I walked into it, which is basically the same equivalent of walking into your parents doing it. Walked into the apartment. I'm like, "Hey, holy shit!"
If your parents are doing it like that, they're doing it
well.
wrong.
My parents aren't that wealthy.
Okay.
So I actually walk into the apartment and I walk in the holy fuck scene. So I literally walk in and I'm like, "What in the fuck are you watching, bro?" Because it was our second podcast he was actually prepping for because the topic was body horror. So I literally walk into that, and then I'm so that was my introduction. Like I saw the holy fuck scene before I saw the rest of the movie.
Yeah, you don't need the rest of the movie before that scene.
You don't really.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's a nice thing to
good
have.
setup.
But
This is the first time I've heard Society and Nice mentioned in the same
it's just fun. Like I'll tell a quick story and then we'll end the Society stuff. But the best thing was already seeing the movie and being at
Music
Box. And then literally I was sitting next to Vinny, my roommate and my friend of 12 years, and he leans over to me and there's people of all different walks of life, and he's like, "Dude, do you want to guess who's the person that's seen this and who's the person that invited the person to see this?"
You can tell.
And then we were the best. And then you had.
I had the best seat in the house.
Yep.
Because I had David on my right, Jill on my left. One of them was really loving it. The other one was disturbed to all sorts of hell.
Well, you've met David, but you never get a chance to meet Jill. Jill's one of our camera ops. She's fun size. She's totally that size. She has a lens named after her, the really really wide fisheye lens. It's called the Jill lens. But she's It's kind of funny. It's not shocking when you know her.
And then in the middle, the one who actually knows what's in the movie, I had the best of both worlds in terms of reactions happening next to me.
I imagine if you put a camera in the front of the audience, facing towards the audience, you're gonna see two people, like literally, like the one. It's like the same. Like okay, so if you put a camera in front of Two Girls, One Cup and Society, it would probably be really fucking similar. There's the one person laughing hysterically and the other person who's gross to fuck. It's like the person who farts in the car with the windows up. Like there's one person laughing hysterically and everyone else is just dying. So anyway, back to drill penises. Meanwhile, in J-horror.
Good segue. So overall, between like Tetsuo then. And, well, you said you didn't care for the sequel. I didn't either. I like Tetsuo.
Like, the sequel was okay. There's some cool stuff in it. Yeah. But it's one of those movies that's just like, I saw it. I know I saw it. I have the Blu-ray because it's on the same disc as the first one.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, Arrow actually put out a box set of like 10 of that director's movies.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah, it's like a mix of his movies and short films, and not all of them are horror.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Tetsuo's the best one from the set, I think. So I did watch the second one. I have not seen the third one, but there's some cool stuff in the second one. I remember thinking there's some cool stuff in here, but it's one of those movies that I don't remember anything specific from it.
Yeah. So it was, to me, it was an art film because it was silent and it was way different than any other J-horror that was coming out. Way different than House. And I know that Tetsuo came out in 89.
Yeah, it's about 12 years after.
Right. So that was like, there was already some other J-horror out there, but not on that level.
Yeah.
And body horror was a thing already with anime.
Yep.
Right? So that was just like their way to do it live action, I think. And it was good. But that led the way to a whole bunch of other horror movies, I think, like that came afterwards. We'll get to them as we go. But yes.
He seems
very I thought he was
very
intrigued.
Like he's very intrigued.
Okay, because this is, okay. So that's Tetsuo.
It's like the Legion of fucking Doom. Good.
10 years later, we get Audition.
Yeah, everybody knows Audition.
Yeah.
And I actually, funny enough, I saw a huge chunk of Audition years ago. Right. I don't know what the fuck I was watching it, and it's a really interesting movie, especially from an actor's perspective, because I certainly knew some crazy bitches back in the day.
Yeah.
I always thought an interesting double feature would be Audition and Black Swan. Just the pure craziness of artists.
Yep.
I love how both you and I, and you're married to one, and my future wife is one of them. So there's that. I think that says more about us than it does about
artistic people, not necessarily crazy people. Just the artistic part.
There's a difference.
I feel like that meme, like you look at the picture, like I don't see a difference in this picture. Well, most artistic people that I know have something slightly wrong with them in some way, shape, or form. Don't even get me started on you. There's not enough time in this fucking podcast. Anyway, so yeah, Auditions is pretty good movie.
Yeah.
It's a pretty solid movie.
I mean, it's not the body mod thing necessarily. She mods that dude's body, but let's be clear, but not the same way like Tetsuo did. But you're smiling, but what did you think of it? What did you like? What did you hate?
So Audition and Black Swan, Mark?
Yep.
A double feature of overrated.
Here we go. So you did not like Audition.
I wouldn't say I didn't like it. I just didn't have the same feeling that everybody else seems to have had with it. Like, to me, it just felt like, okay, I saw it.
Yeah.
But, like, the shocking parts just didn't connect with me.
Okay, when did you watch it?
The first time I saw it, I would have been 15 or 16.
Okay.
And then I believe I watched it again with Justin a couple years ago, because I know that he and I had that conversation of both of us didn't really connect with it, so I think we gave it a second shot. And then I gave it another go probably about 3 or 4 months ago, because I knew that we were going to be doing this.
Right.
Like, every time I watch it, it's like I'm trying to get into it, but I just feel disconnected from it.
I know Zach has a similar opinion as well. I know he's not the biggest fan of that movie.
Meh.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. You know what though, and I understand the desensitization of it. To me, it's a really good thriller with some horror elements in it. Like, I think it's a good movie. Like, I think it's got a good story. I don't like a lot of people. Like, I don't know. We're all
there's some good stuff in it.
Yeah, I think we're just all too desensitized, and I think some people really find a shock value in it.
In a way, I compare it to how I feel about Scarface. Where the famous scenes have earned their fame, and I have nothing wrong with those scenes. It's everything in between those scenes that I just don't connect with.
I think Scarface is a better movie than Audition, but
I agree with that.
That's very hard to argue, but still, because it had some creative kills in it, which is one of the things we all look for in horror movies, right? The piano wire thing. I mean, there's some good creative kills in there. Not kills, but torture, whatever you want to call it.
Takashi Miike has directed a few other movies that I'm sure we'll be talking about today.
Yeah. See, and we'll go on in a second. So one more thing about Audition, though, is I do think that they edited it when they re-released it maybe about 5-10 years ago. Mm-hmm. Because the one that I saw, the original one I saw, which was, at least 10-15 years ago, was way gorier. Yeah. And had way more twisted scenes in it than the one that I watched just a couple weeks ago.
Really? Where did you watch that version?
Well, I streamed that one.
Okay.
The new one, or the current one, I guess. Whatever. And I could have sworn it was like, well, wait a minute. There was a lot more when the Achilles heel thing was here. There was a whole scene of that, and I didn't see it. I'm like, that was one of the most bizarre, twisted scenes I've ever seen, and it's been cut out.
Weird.
So I wonder if it's been an edited version, and that's why you're not getting into it as much, because the other one was so twisted and demented to me. I mean, at least I'm trying to recall from 10-15 years ago, but it was like a mind fuck. It was really kind of just like, holy crap, did she just do that?
Well, the funny thing is, and actually you brought up a really good point there. I mean, there may very well be several J-horror films. And any foreign films that have been cut down quite a bit.
Because I do remember the DVD I got when I was a teenager. The back of the box is making
the right one.
Yeah, because I remember the back of that box, because there are different DVDs out there.
Right.
And I specifically remember seeking out the one that I got, because that was the one that advertised itself as for the first time in America, the fully uncut version.
See right there, the fact that they had to advertise it as a fully uncut one means that I think the one I just recently saw was a cut version of it.
Yeah.
And it didn't have half the scenes. Because I will say that when I watched it a couple weeks ago, I was disappointed. I didn't see that one scene that I remember vividly, but I definitely was not as grabbed by the movie as I remember being originally. Mm-hmm. So that's why I think it was an edited version. So I totally understand what you're saying, but Audition was still a good movie, I think.
It's okay.
From a plot perspective and everything else, I thought it was a good movie. I enjoyed it. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
I do like it more than Black Swan.
From what I remember, I did remember enjoying it. I would certainly like to see the uncut version, and really get into it, and really see it for that. I think it was one of those things that I was shown by somebody that absolutely loved it, and that's why I'm very much it was good, solid, but I'm not gonna go to the go to the papers or go big about it and everything else, because I got one of those people like, oh, you need to see this movie, and I'm like, dude, I gotta go in 30 minutes.
I don't know if it's that kind of movie, or at least I thought it was when I first saw it. Like I said, I thought it was fantastic. My daughter, who's in her 20s, and I said, oh, you got to watch this movie, and at the end she was like, and I'm like, this wasn't the same movie. This was not the right movie. There was this scene that was missing, and so So I see what you're saying. I get it.
There you go.
Okay, so, and just keeping chronological, I do want to kind of jump to another art film, what I consider an art film. It really wasn't, but I'm going to back up a little bit because Battle Royale has to be talked about.
The Battle Royale was on, like, so I went to Slasher and I asked for recommendations on there, and that came up a lot.
Yeah.
I did not get a chance to watch it, but
Okay.
Which I consider that more of an action movie than a horror movie. But it's an excellent movie.
Agreed. I mean, there's the horror element, like when you're being stalked by somebody killing you. You don't know if an old friend is going to turn around and kill you or if they're going to support you and they're a friend. So that's there, but you're right. I definitely think it was an action picture with some gore on it. Yeah.
And I don't know, the story, my personal story with that movie that I always remember is I showed it to my brother and our friend. Yeah. And I remember there's like at the end when like the main bad dude is like dying, his phone rings.
Right.
And I think it's like his kid or something. Like it's been years since I've seen it. It's his daughter. And he basically just like makes sure he doesn't die just long enough to answer the phone, just to tell her she's a disappointment.
He's been
and then he hangs up and
he's been shot, so he's like half dying, and he's still, hello, hey, how's it going? He tries to act really
I think
normal.
that might be the most Japanese thing I've ever heard in my life. I have all these bullet holes in me. I want to make sure I answer the phone to tell my child what a disappointment they are. Click. Let this be the last thing I say to you. You are a disappointment and a dishonor to this family.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Little trivia for that. You know who that guy is?
Who?
The main character. He's big in Japan as like a mafia boss. Or what they call him in Japan. Yakuza boss. But did you ever watch MXE?
Yes.
No.
He's Vic Romano.
Really?
From MXE.
I see it.
Oh yeah, I looked at IMDb that sucker, and that's where his credit. It's his show. Because he was a big famous actor back then.
I remember when
Toshiki,
MXC first went on TV here in America.
Yeah.
On what would become Spike TV.
Right.
Before it was Spike TV, it was advertised as the new TNT.
Wow, I don't even remember anything before Spike TV.
Yep.
That's crazy.
And now Spike TV is like Paramount TV.
Yeah.
Who cares?
But that's a great MXE is fantastic. But to see that guy from this show in that, he's been in a couple other movies. He's been in a lot of other movies too. He was in. Was he the one that was in Ring, the remake? Maybe he was in Ring. Where's my notes? Vic Romano from MXE. Toshiki Kitano, that's his name. I'll have to check that out. But
Nice.
but he was in a bunch of other stuff too. As was, I'm not going to know her name, Ichi Shalina? I don't know. The main actress in Audition.
Yes.
She was also in Hell Driver. She was also in Tokyo Gore Police.
Oh, yes.
She was in Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein Girl.
Which you just showed me a clip of that before we started. And I liked what I saw.
You got to see it.
Zach, you would like the clip?
It's one of my favorite
A lot of blood.
J-horror movies ever.
Basically a blood shower.
Yeah. with great music bed to it. She's dancing in the shower of blood. Oh,
you wish you were that creative?
Oh no, I am that creative. We just can't get the money to do that shit right now.
Blood's expensive.
Blood is expensive.
Well,
blood's pretty cheap to make, and I know the people who can make it.
We can make a few calls. Brandon's like, I don't know what I want to do with this information.
there are many different ways I can take what was just said.
Take them all the ways. Anyway,
my goal
going on.
is to use more blood and gore than how much blood did they use in Deathgasm? They had like 10 gallons of blood,
awesome.
But the director was so pissed because he couldn't find something to use the last gallon for or something like that. I don't know. It was on an IMDb facts or something like that. It was fucking hilarious. But that's my goal.
We can find a way to use it. Like,
save it for another movie.
Exactly. Yeah. Store it in a dry, room protection place. You're good. But anyway, go on.
Oh, okay. So, Battle Royale, it has to be. To me, that's one of the ones that was the.
Also, Go-Go from Kill Bill's in Battle Royale.
No kidding.
Really?
Yep.
That's awesome.
She seemed like she was 10 in Kill Bill. Well, I guess that's right around
I'm
the same
pretty
time.
sure
That's
that was
2000.
her. I'm going to double check because I remember the first person to ever tell me about Battle Royale.
Yeah.
And this is a few years before I actually saw Battle Royale, but the first person who told me about it was a camp counselor.
Oh boy.
Who was telling us kids about Battle Royale, and he was like, yeah, Go-Go from Kill Bill is in it.
Really?
Yes, she is.
No kidding.
That's awesome.
See? So there you go. But that one was when it was now I'm going to forget the name of the movie. What was the movie that students had to kill themselves? May the odds be always in your favor.
Oh, Hunger Games.
Hunger Games. It was Hunger Games before Hunger Games.
Well,
and then that before Hunger Games, before Squid Game.
We'll get the Squid Game.
yeah.
We'll get the Squid. Even though it's not a J horror.
Yeah.
We'll cover that. But this one I know you have a lot to say about. And I was lukewarm to it.
Yep.
Spiral or Uzumaki.
I have some words about this one.
Let's
hear these words.
So Uzumaki is based on a manga by Junji Ito. Mm-hmm. Fantastic manga. Arguably the best horror comic I've read. It is creepy. It is fast moving. It has so much memorable imagery. It is just so good. Yeah. And I recommend the manga to anybody. The movie, not so much.
Yeah, okay, good. But the visuals were still there. It was still interesting to see.
Nothing compared to the manga, of course.
Yeah, because look at the technology of the day, but that was 2000, so they should have.
They were shuffling a lot of things around, but it was like the movie felt like they wanted to do a sequel to finish the story.
Yeah.
Kind of. But like it was like, I don't know, it was very oddly paced, like what they chose to keep from the manga. But like the manga is like, that story just gets started. Whereas with the movie, like I remember I was watching it with my girlfriend and we were just like, okay, so we're probably still in the first 15, 20 minutes here because they were still like setting stuff up. So we checked the time. We were more than halfway through.
Exactly. Exactly. Because when you were saying fast paced, the comics were fast, I'm like, well, not in the movie.
No.
The movie was very slow, methodic, and paced.
Well, you know what, though? That's something to be said about J-horror, at least from my experience, and I'll get to that when I get to my picks, is that a lot of, with the exception of One Cut of the Dead, One Cut of the Dead actually was very slow at the beginning, and then it sped up pretty fast. But the other two, One Missed Call and Rigu, which are my picks, and I'll get into when I talk, they don't have a problem with building tension and going slow, but sometimes it gets to the danger of. But
with those movies, A leads to B, leads to C, there's a progression.
Well, there is a progression, yeah, for sure.
Where with Uzumaki, it felt like they just kind of took the manga and threw it into a blender.
And whatever came out.
So they didn't try to follow like comics 1 through 3 or something like that. They just skipped around, or they just took the idea of it.
It was like they took the idea and certain elements of it.
Yeah. And
there were a lot of points I remember thinking, it felt like they were like trying to get to something, but then they just would decide not to. It would be like, we're going to run to Target, and we get like 2/3 to Target, and then we veer off, and it's like, no, we're going to go to Walmart instead.
So
it's like Jeff Goldblum logic. he gets halfway to whatever thought he is, and then gives up on the thought and goes to the other thought.
But because I've seen some of the comics, I haven't read the whole comic, so I can't attest to the storyline and stuff like that. But I agree, there were some very graphic scenes in the comic there was one I remember where a girl's face is a spiral and it becomes her eyeball and that wasn't in the movie, and I was kind of looking forward to that.
And that's like the iconic image.
Yeah, see,
from the manga.
And yet they did the curling hair and the spider over, which you're like, well, that's not so scary.
It's like, this is Uzumaki, one of the most disturbing comics ever made.
And you like their hair
and I'm
curling.
laughing.
Yeah.
Okay. And laughing for the wrong reasons.
All right. And why was it all in green? I mean, the whole movie looked very, very green. I don't know.
I wish I had an answer.
Okay, great. Excellent.
But I remember saying the same thing.
All right. Okay, so now you were talking about our picks, and I think I was going through like all 30 of the movies I had. So let me jump around a little bit so you guys can jump in with yours. I'll just do the ones that I really liked, or at least wanted to get your opinions
absolutely.
on. Yep. So we're going to we'll come back to Suicide Club. I think that was on your list, right?
Yes.
And Ichi the Killer.
I did watch those two. If you want to come back to those, we can.
Yeah. Well, we can hit them now, but I just wanted to know if that's going to be on your pick list or something.
They are not two that are specifically on my pick list for today.
Okay.
But if you want me to go through my opinions real quick.
Sure,
So
because
Suicide
they're
Club,
pretty big movies.
Suicide Club, I really liked. I feel like it got a little too artsy for its own good in the end, but I did like it. Okay. Ichi the Killer is another one where I don't know if I'd call it horror.
Yeah, because it was a mafia movie kind of
definitely has some horrific imagery, particularly at the end with the ear thing.
Yeah. Can we spoil? Can we do spoilers?
Yeah, I'm gonna do. All
right. Just we didn't say the twisted, the screw penis.
Yeah, yeah. I think your imagination can kind of run wild at that point.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay, so because I agree with that. I think Ichi the Killer was more of a action movie.
Yeah.
It didn't touch upon what I'm going to get to, which is what I love about J-horror. And that's the Tokyo. What do they call their company? Tokyo Shock. I had to look that up. Sorry. Tokyo Shock is the producers or whatever. They financed a bunch of the movies that are over the top, crazy, stupid, silly, just eye candy.
Yeah.
And I'll get to that. Ichi the Killer touched into that, so that's why I can still consider it in there. Okay. But it really didn't do the body mod stuff. It didn't do the, teenage girls chopping off your head and dancing in the blood kind of stuff, which is awesome. And Suicide Club. I thought Suicide Club, by the way, was a great movie. I kind of guessed the whole teen band connection, but it was really good. And there were lots of holes throughout the whole thing, but it didn't matter because I still got the message.
Mystery to it.
You got it. It was still a good mystery, and it's still one of those things at the end and go, it was pretty badass. So I did like that one. I'm going to skip a couple of these. Imprint is that's more of an American film, really. I know you're going to talk about Machine Girl. I'll skip Machine Girl. Robo Geisha, don't see it.
Yep.
So now we get to one of my favorite movies of all time. And definitely one of the top of my pick is Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein Girl. And neither of you fuckers have seen it.
Nope.
There are more than just two of us here, Lon.
My heart has been
I'm
squashed.
sure none of those fuckers have seen it too, but please, by all means, don't get into it.
Yeah, I guess
Anybody?
if we haven't seen it, they haven't seen it.
Yeah, get into it, man. Just get into it.
One of my favorite of all times, and I'll tell you why. I mean, it's basic rudimentary. This is another one of those movies that I saw without any translation because the only copy I had was just in Japanese. It didn't have dubbed over anything. It didn't have the words underneath it. None of that. And it didn't matter. You still got into the story. But it is by far one of the most racist movies I have ever seen in my life.
That is not a comment I was expecting.
I've seen Blazing Saddles, bro. They didn't even come close, does it?
All right, I'm going to pull it up. When you guys are talking, I'll go pull up a couple scenes just to show you. But it's basically so this
turn.
It did.
Well, it did, but let me explain it. So it's comical. It's funny. I don't want to make it sound like racism is funny.
No.
But it's one of those things that they are so over the top about it. Anybody in those situations, I think, would get a laugh out of it as well. But it's your basic thing where there's new girl in school, she's a vampire, and the pretty girl in school eventually becomes Frankenstein girl because her dad is a scientist in the school and he becomes the mad scientist in a Japanese way. If you see it, you'll understand. He's like the Japanese version of a mad scientist. And the school nurse, who's like this super hot chick, becomes like this twisted, not twisted ugly, but like mentally just weird person who helps the doctor out. And they have in the school all the different groups of kids that you would think. You know how you got the metalheads and the goth kids, and you got so it's like, and one of the group was the African students.
Yep.
I can't say African American, African Japanese students. They had the cutters, the group, because that's a big thing, you know, and that was their thing. They had a club there. They just got together and sliced each other and sliced themselves. And and of course you've got the sports kids, and you've got the the pretty girls and the clique, the in clique where they all wear fancy hats but they're also over the top. You can tell that they're trying to make a point. They're trying to make a gag out of it. Like, oh look, here's all the different schools. Vampire Girl basically eats her way through all the groups to a certain extent, and she's in love with this one boy who she tries to turn into a vampire. Well, the head cute chick, the good-looking people group, whose dad is a mad scientist, also likes this boy. So there's a little battle going on, and she gets her dad to, because eventually there's a battle and I don't want to give too much away, but Dad takes all the body parts from all the Frankenstein or all the Vampire Girl's victims and builds Frankenstein Girl out of his daughter. And I believe that's one of the good quotes from the movies, like, nothing gives you more satisfaction than slicing your daughter up. I kid you not. So then, as Frankenstein, because she's body parts, Frankenstein Girl then goes after Vampire Girl because she stole the boy that she likes, because, nothing's said.
Nothing says high school quite like that.
There you go. Thank you very much. The good paraphrase.
Yeah.
So, and then there's a big battle at the end with that, but she's got all the body parts, and they make a show of it, like, she's got the super leg strength from one of the athletic groups or whatever, and it's absolutely over the top stupid because she's body parts, but it's a body mod horror. It's right up there with Tokyo Gore Police, and as far as the silliness and stupidity and all the crazy characters that they make. But Vampire Girl is badass, and she's cute, and she's bloody, and she's loves what she's doing, and it's just an outstanding movie. You got to watch it. Go watch it.
That's fantastic.
It's great. But you haven't seen it. So what do you think of it?
I want to watch it.
Yeah.
I want to watch it.
Yeah.
I want to watch it right now.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
You make an excellent pitch.
Yeah,
yes, you do.
Thank you
Mark,
very much.
you should also watch Tokyo Gore Police.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Fair enough.
I think that kind of goes. Have you seen Tokyo Gore Police?
Thank God. It's been a few years, but I've seen it.
All right, because that one's better at doing the whole thing with the body mod characters.
Yeah.
So like one girl's Alligator Girl, and one girl is like with the swords for legs, or she got swords for legs.
Pretty
a
much,
gimp.
It takes place in a world where if a limb gets cut off from your body, a weapon will grow in its place.
Yep.
Oh, that
If you have
great.
there's this enzyme that they can put in you that looks like a key that goes in your brain, and then your body can do that.
And Mark, I got 2 words for you.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Cannon penis.
That sounds better than screw penis.
And
Sounds explosive.
gun boobs.
Fuck you, Zach.
There's plenty of gun boobs.
So like Dr. Evil, those gun
Dr.
boobs.
Moreau kind of thing?
No. An Austin Powers, man.
Those are gun bras.
Those are
we're
gun bras.
talking about gun boobs.
We're talking about actual
Nice. I love it.
flesh
I love it.
becoming a weapon
Love it.
kind of thing.
Fantastic.
Which is great. Alligator Girl.
Nice.
It's not just her legs, if you know what I'm saying. The whole alligator part. Do I need to spell this out for you?
Nope,
Okay.
nope.
All right.
It looks like he might have to.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Great movie. That's definitely up there
Which
too.
I'm sure health class in the world of Tokyo Gore Police is a nightmare.
I would not say it's free healthcare. I would say that,
I said health class.
That's paid for.
Healthcare.
Yeah, health class would be interesting.
Yeah.
That would be very interesting. Some sweaty gym teacher.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I guess if this happens, that happens. The gym teacher becomes the math teacher. Like, well, if you add this limb and minus that,
All of your bodies are different, and I mean that in so many ways.
I don't know why they put me in this charge of this
Oh, my
fucking
God.
class. I don't have a math degree. I was teaching dodgeball last week, and now I'm trying to fucking figure this shit out. Dude, I would feel so bad for that guy. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely worth watching. I mean, this is the area of J horror that I love.
Nice.
Over the top, stupid, silly.
Oh.
You don't need to understand what they're saying. You just watch one, arm get chopped off and a machine gun come out and they start. Or the
that's-
eyes. There was one that the eyes became torpedoes and you shoot these little eyeballs at you, and it was.
Amazing.
It's a crazy.
The finest hour of J horror.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's that, and Hell Driver was basically the same Wait, did you get to see Hell Driver? Okay, watch Hell Driver. It's the same sort of thing. It's got the same girl from Audition. We talked about that. But that one is more zombie related. So there's like this thing that grows out of your forehead that splits like a T, and that's like an enzyme. So the thing is that makes you a zombie. You're a zombie, but you got this thing. But if you take that thing off of the zombies and you dry it out and you crumble it up, you can get high. So there's a whole black market of people trying to get zombies so they can get that thing and crumble it up and get high. But if you smoke too much of it or snort too much of it, you become a zombie. There's so many levels of this movie that
there's a lot of subtext here.
Oh my God!
So
absolutely.
You literally got like poachers, like except there's zombie
trying to get
poachers.
zombies. Yep.
Oh
and they go and they just like they have this thing. This one guy standing on a bunch of fence where there's zombies below, and he's got this thing, Hell Driver, and this big trap that throws down to snap off a head, and he grabs the head and puts it in, and tries to snap off another head. And he's collecting the heads,
amazing,
which are still alive because it keeps the thing fresh.
Oh yeah.
Right? And then at one point he falls in there, and as is wont to happen when you go against zombies.
This is true.
But it's entertaining. It's stupid. It's silly. I won't get too far into it. You got to watch it. It's definitely worth it. Hell Driver. I'm going to end with a different one. We're going to talk about As the Gods Will. I'm going to hit. We already kind of talked about Tokyo Gore Police. You did see Tokyo Gore Police. Okay.
Been years, but I've seen it.
I'm just going to hit two more then. One that is quite possibly the best, worst J-horror movie I've ever seen. And the other one is probably one of the best quality J-horror movies I've ever seen. Which do you want to hear about first?
Best quality.
Best quality? Tag.
Tag, okay.
Have you seen Tag?
Really well done.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, really, Lon? That sucked. Okay, good. So, that was a really well done movie.
Particularly that opening scene.
The opening scene was glorious. That's what hooked me in, because that was the trailer. That was...
Never saw the trailer.
No. Okay, well, it's that opening scene, the bus, with the bus and the...
I don't think the movie ever tops that opening scene, but there was still a lot of really good stuff in it. Do we want to say what the opening scene was?
Oh, just go for
Absolutely.
it. We're spoiler,
Absolutely.
We're spoiler environment.
Because it's on the trailer, so people have seen it.
Fair. All right, so there's this class on a bus, all right? Full bus, all right? And they're just going through, like, their typical...
Yeah, they're going through the woods. They're going through to a field trip or something.
Yeah,
right.
and it's like, the kids are just talking on the bus. It's just like, just some random day. It could be any day. Going on a field trip. Very happy. Until all of a sudden, this invisible force just cuts the bus in half.
Right at
everybody
this
else,
level.
Right at that level.
Wow.
And so everybody got it, except for the main girl who just happened to been.
She dropped her pen. She dropped her pen in the aisle, so she bent down to get her pen, and
literally
she
just the
stands
whole
up.
bus, everybody just decapitated, blood everywhere.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was.
And it just comes out of nowhere.
Reminds me of the opening of Ghost Ship.
Oh, that's similar, but that was a wire.
That was a wire, but nobody saw the wire.
Right.
I believe it.
But this is like an invisible force that you don't see.
That's
But
awesome.
they explain later on what that invisible force is. But one of the best parts of the scene too is there's two buses, and the bus in the back. So the first bus gets the top cut off, and then the driver in the second bus sees this, and they show it from his point of view, and the bus just getting, and the top getting flying around, and heads flying everywhere, and body parts. Because actually, now that I think about it, the bus driver who sits lower got his head chopped off, but everybody else got chopped off in the torso area. But so there are body parts everywhere, and just to see that scene from several different angles, even you got to see it on the bus angle, you got to see it from the back. And they got cut off, and then they're waiting, and then sure enough, the second bus gets sheared off, and everybody, and the buses, of course, since the driver's dead, just lists to the side or whatever. But the main girl, she picks up her pen and she stands up, and there's blood squirting out of everybody, as is great with Japanese horror. Blood squirting out of everybody, and she kind of, and she's getting a little blood on her and drenched blood. And she's freaking out. She gets off and she starts walking, trying to find her way back out. And she's walking through the woods, and there's body parts of school kids everywhere, floating in the water, and torsos, and half of them are so like, kind of.
Oh my God!
It's awesome. It's awesome.
Wasn't it the same movie that also had the teacher opening fire on the students?
Yes, because yes, we can. I don't know if we can explain why, or if we should touch on why. All this stuff gets explained at the end. It is a twist ending that honestly I didn't really see coming.
there's really no way you can see it coming unless you've seen the movie.
Right. So I won't give away the twist ending because you want that payoff.
I do want that payoff. Yeah.
Yeah. But they did have a bunch of things. So later on through the movie, her one friend comes back as a different person, different character. Same actress, but she's no longer her school friend. But she's her friend saying, you've got to make it out. You've got to make it out. And the main character is like, she's just this meek little girl at first, but she knows how to fight. There's a couple good fight scenes in there and stuff like that. And she runs off and there's all these destructive things happening through her. And then she's in a different scene where she's a different person. But her friend is still there and her friend still knows her and says, you haven't made it out yet. So it's like several different kind of storylines going on.
It's like the same actors, the same
right.
character types, not necessarily the same people.
Don't go too far.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
So good movie. It's a great movie overall.
Absolutely, I think so.
Nice.
I think it's one of the better well-made movies. Had a good twist ending. There's still silly schlock stuff, but that's why we're watching it.
Same director as Suicide Club.
Oh, see,
and
I didn't know that.
do prefer Tag.
There you go.
Nice,
See,
nice.
Look at that. I prefer Tag.
And then
Me too.
And then what was the other movie? The best and worst that you ever seen?
Zombie Ass, Toilet of the Dead. If I need to say more than that,
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
So, but I will.
Strike a nerve with
but
you,
I will.
Zach.
I'm like, what?
Why?
You know what? Look, I know you say this is the worst thing you've ever seen. Just
It's
you
the
wait,
worst
buddy.
and best at the same time.
Right. It's one of those so bad it's good and then it's bad again. So.
At least you got some good in your movie.
Yeah. It was. I was expecting it to be just like all the others with the over-the-top characters or creatures that do this. It did not. There were more poop jokes than I wanted. There was more.
Well, I mean,
I get it. Let's just say.
But the title. But the title on.
Did it deliver what it promised?
I don't know if it promised anything.
I feel like I'm like we're talking about like Idiocracy when they're like the best movie in theaters is called Ass. It's like it's just an ass.
So
farting.
And fart jokes were abundant, and it was, it's very hard to explain this movie. I won't go into the detail of the storyline because really there wasn't one.
Well, one would think.
But there was Zombie Ass the Dead. I thought, okay, there's going to be a few fart jokes. There were a lot of fart jokes. I figured, okay, there might be one poop joke, but the whole thing is like these zombies come out of the outhouse, basically. Like I don't know how they got in there. They don't explain why they don't. I don't know if it matters. But they come out of the outhouse and rain havoc on you. And of course, it's basically a stomach parasite, which J-horror loves parasites. That there is a weird body mod at the end. The queen worm, as they're calling it, becomes the whole body, and they fight in the air. Don't ask me how the heroine can fly, but she's up there flying with this thing, killing it, or trying to kill it. But it had blood, it had guts, it just had a little bit too much of Two Girls, One Cup kind of stuff.
Fair enough.
Vaughn, I'm not going to lie, this sounds kind of shitty.
Fuck you, Zach.
I'd like to say you brought that humor down, but this movie, you're still way above it.
He said it, not me.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. So that's sir is your list of.
I have a lot of overlap to Brandon's list,
Nice.
but I will talk about it when we get to his list.
So the other two movies that I watched were One Missed Call and Ringu. I actually was pleasantly surprised by One Missed Call. I thought it was great. Considering how shitty the American remake was.
I did a video about it.
I'm sure you did.
It was one of the horror facts when I was filling in for you.
Do you really? Yeah. I don't remember that.
Day 2.
Oh yeah, that's right. I thought it was great. It taught me a lot of interesting things about J-horror because I didn't really know as much. I know that a lot of their supernatural thrillers, things move very slow, and I remember watching, One Missed Call, and I'm like, you know what? If this was maybe a few, a beat or two slower than this, it would be too slow. So I'm like, you're right on the edge of going too slow.
Okay.
But it kept enough of the progression to keep me involved and keep me interested, and I thought it was really good. Something interesting about, and I caught this with One Cut of the Dead, and I caught this with Ringu, and I caught this with him. J-horror has a very interesting way of ending their films. It's almost like, especially from these examples, it's almost like every J-horror that I've watched, and I've watched enough to really get a good feel for it, but it's almost like they do the peripheral, ta-da, or they do something like at the end that I'm like, do you guys not know how to end a movie?
Yeah.
Like, do you have to do something kind of like offbeat and strange, or some kind of weird shot?
All right.
And it just seems like I'm not necessarily complaining because it's cool in some cases, but I'm like there always seems to be like a thing at the end, and it's kind of this, it's like a weird, sometimes it's just a random shot, or just, it seems like there's always randomness at the end of this, at least from the data that I've perceived at this point.
Okay.
There always seems to be something like, just an odd thing, like I'm like, it's like we don't know how to end this conversation, so I'm just going to end this conversation.
See, I mean, I kind of get that. I understand with like some of the movies, the way they wrap it up, seemingly trying to make it open-ended for a sequel or something like that, but they don't. They just cut it.
Yeah,
I kind of get that, but
I mean, especially with One Missed Call, like it kind of had like, I was kind of like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
There was a weird ending, like about who's dead and who's not dead, but like they seem to have, and I saw this in Ringo, I believe, and I saw this in One Cut of the Dead, where they end the movie with a close up on the two characters like looking at each other, and I'm like, I was like, that's interesting. I was like, I wonder if this is a common thing in J-horror. I'm not complaining, but it was just, I was like, they kind of got a whole thing going on to themselves.
Yeah.
They're different, and they're proud of being different. Which I can really respect from that perspective. But One Missed Call was great. If anybody who hasn't seen it, it's pretty common.
It's better than the American remake.
Absolutely agreed.
Yeah, somebody receives voicemail that they're gonna die. They hear them dying, and then they die. I thought that there's a bunch of cool things. I like the mystery element of it.
Yeah.
Seeing that girl get killed on live television was quite the thing. And I'm like, that was one of those like horror cliche moments. I'm like, get up, move away from this person, get up and run out the studio, man. Or the elevator one was cool.
I think they have good visual deaths there. I mean, that's one thing J-horror I think does really well too, is visual deaths, because like, even when they took it, like the ghost, they really get into the ghost thing, and they really get into the nuances of the ghost, right? Not overdone spooky with giant fangs everywhere, but more subtle kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Black hair, the hair in the water is a big thing. There's always a lot of hair in water. They even did that in a house, the black hair in the water coming up to get you. So I think they've got a good grasp on the visual death in a different way than we do.
Oh yeah, and I think that they have something to be said about supernatural and ghost stories and everything else. They really, I mean, that's ingrained, very much in their religion. That's why a lot of people, I've been seeing many videos. I don't know the specific type of ghost, but it's the young girl ghost with the black hair. Like, that's a specific ghost in Japanese folklore. So I mean, like, it's kind of interesting to watch it, because you're almost watching, because American cinema is so popular over the world, and everybody gets American culture through one of our most popular exports, which is our entertainment. But it's kind of fun to see entertainment of another culture, and understand what makes them tick and what makes them, what scares them, because a lot of people don't necessarily, understand all the nuances of it, of their different folklores. But it was cool though. It was cool to to see it, and then. Both those movies were made, Ringo was 98, One Missed Call, I think, was 2000 or 2001. Right. It was kind of cool.
It was 2003, I think.
Was it? Okay. I knew it was the early 2000s, late 90s. It was kind of cool to see that technology horror kind of creep in, and, and the... I mean, you saw that in the 80s with like Videodrome and and other things, but but I mean, it was cool to see them, Japanese kind of be on the cutting edge of using technology, that next millennium of technology, to really get into horror, and I really appreciated that. I know Brandon's probably wheels turning on.
What did you think of Ringu?
I liked it. If I had to I think I liked One Missed Call more.
Okay.
I think One Missed Call moved more in a straight bullet.
Okay.
You know, I think Ringu was really good. I liked it that it was a little bit more investigating than that. I think I liked it a little bit more. And also too is like I asked less questions when I was watching Ringu than I did with One Missed Call.
Okay.
Like like especially like some of the stuff that they did in One Missed Call, like he went into the orphanage and like talked to the little girl. I'm like, who would let you into a fucking orphanage to shake a little girl? Like, I mean,
that's with any horror movie. There's always that willing suspension of disbelief.
But like, I liked it. I think I liked One Missed Call because it was more straight bullet. Yeah. But I think there was more of a mystery element within Ringu that I liked. They're both a good like double feature. They're good balance between each other. It's cool. They're cool stories. I know some people have, and I think that's a problem that I think that a lot of people have issues with that, those type of, whatever subgenre of J-horror that is. Right. I think a lot of people have an issue with it. It moves too slow. But, but if you're invested in what's going on and you really, you're like, well, this isn't this is a Japanese horror movie. This isn't an American horror movie. This is a different type of, One Cut of the Dead, though, that's anybody could have made that. But I mean, you got to understand it's a different culture and there's a different pace of how they do things. And I think it made me appreciate that even more, that, hey, this is different. This is a different kind of thing.
So let me ask you, that being the heyday of American horror was really the 80s, even you can argue the end of the 70s, early 80s, even in a little bit into the 90s, with the way that the kills were and the, Freddy and Jason and Michael and everybody. Do you think that influenced Japanese horror? Because Japanese culture got those movies a little later, I think, than America did, right?
Well,
they went through their 50s phase with the 50s music and stuff.
There's an old joke about Japanese taking our stuff and making it better.
Yeah.
They let the Japanese businessmen into the Ford.
Keep it in the movie realm.
I know, but they let the Japanese men into the Ford factory, and then Toyota came out and they made it better.
Right.
So I mean, there's something to be said about that. About them taking culture, but that's anything though. Like that's there's always generations before that that were influenced to the next generation. So I think I think that there's something. But I kind of agree with you,
because it's a different style altogether. I mean, we can all agree that J-horror. That's why we're here, right? Because
Yeah,
J-horror is so weird and bizarre and different than anything that we have over here.
Yes.
I mean, we have some pretty weird, bizarre stuff. But
and that actually reminds me, this is something that's coming out that I'm curious about. They're actually Japan is actually remaking a Canadian horror movie, Cube.
Oh,
so I'm
really?
So I'm really interested to see what Japan has to bring to this.
Okay, all right. Should we touch on Cube? I hated Cube.
Hate it.
I hated Cube. Did you love it? You loved it, didn't you?
I wouldn't say I loved it, but I really like it.
Oh.
It's been so long since I've seen it that I barely remember it. So I'm probably I'm gonna take a guess that I'm in between you two. I just take a guess, but I don't really remember it all that much.
We'll skip that one. We're on J-horror.
Yeah, fair enough. But I think to answer your question in the simple way, I think they did have some influence on that, and there were some great deaths in that. And the funny thing is too is something interesting about, and I just thought about this now, is in typical American form and everything else, it's it's the buildup of tension and then it's the payoff of the death and everything else, and everything kind of like calms down. And the interesting thing about the J-horror, at least from my experience in this specific example from One Missed Call, but there's other ones too, is that there's you have the tension leading up to the kill happens, but the tension and the creepiness still stays.
Oh, wow.
And I thought that was really interesting, especially when the girl gets thrown from the end of the train and everything else, but then it pans over to the hand, and the hand is still moving and calling. The creepiness still stays. There's almost no. It's a break, but but it's not really a break. It still keep going. So I thought that did that, and also Ringu did that pretty well as well. It kept the creepiness. The atmosphere doesn't disappear because the kill is over.
I agree. I think they do have good atmosphere throughout movies because, I mean, that's what the movie was going for. And you could say the same thing about a lot of American movies too. That
True.
if they have the good atmosphere and the atmosphere is set up and they set a tone for the movie. That's why some movies are really slow paced because they're setting a tone.
Yeah.
But I will say that in those two movies specifically, they do keep that tension going.
Yeah. So you were asking me about Ringu though. What did you think about it?
So it's interesting because I really like it, and that's one Japanese original that I feel just lives in harmony with the American remake. Because the American remake is a horror movie first for me, whereas the Japanese original is like what you kind of hinted at, an investigative journalism movie with a supernatural element to it. So I am able to get something different out of both movies and have a fulfilling experience from both of them.
I like both movies, the American version. I thought that was actually a very, very good movie, the American version. I like the Japanese version too, but to me I do look at them as two separate movies.
And also too, the Ring 1 and Ring 2 were probably you can enjoy the other ones for what they are, but I think those are probably the best ones. I think they dwindled afterwards. Yeah, I don't remember the Grudge being any good. I certainly don't remember the one Miss Call remake was god awful. Yeah. So
every variation of the Grudge sucks.
The sequels, you mean, like this?
All of them.
Even the first one.
I don't like any of them.
Really? Grudge, I thought was good.
I don't know. It's just meh. Especially the ghost. I'm just like, really?
Yeah, they set a good mood for it, I thought. So the kid was still kind of creepy, and the ghost with the hair.
The kid looks like the kid looked like my brother, like one of my friend's brother. So I saw. I'm just like,
so you were giggling at him.
No, I'm just like that's
dude. And when the girl was like going like down the stairs, in the Grudge and everything else, I was like, I could replace this with like Hanna-Barbera music, and I would laugh my ass off. Like that, when all the like characters are chasing each other from room to room. I wanted to put that music over going down the stairs. So I'm an ass. I don't know.
General consensus: you guys didn't like Grudge?
I thought the first one's okay. If I had to it's definitely Ring first, then Grudge, then One Missed Call for American remakes. One Missed Call is destructively bad. It's not even like fun bad. It's just bad.
Wow.
I remember I added it into the trash pile of all remakes in the early 2000s. I'm like, nope, it's gonna go over in that trash bin. It was bad. But both of those were great. I thought
Grudge was excellent.
Are we talking about the Japanese or the American remake?
The American remake.
Okay, I didn't like it.
I thought it was okay. From what I remember, it's been probably about 10 years, 12 years since I've seen the Grudge. Well, maybe I'll revisit it.
Because Ju-On was it was pretty close to that. It just put American characters in place of Japanese characters for that, right? Because Ju-On was still the same sort of theme, but in the American version, Grudge, it was just Americans coming to the house, right?
In terms of plot, I believe so.
So it wasn't like a sequel.
I do believe Ju-On. I think Ju-On might have been actually like 3 episodes of a TV series that never got off the ground, edited into a movie, if I'm not mistaken.
Really?
I think so. Because when I got the DVD from Reckless Records, sometimes they print a little comment about the movie. And it was like, this movie was edited from 3 episodes of a TV series that couldn't get off the ground.
Really?
The American remake does not hold a candle to this brilliant original.
Wow. That's pretty good.
And then there was when Justin sold his copy of Donnie Darko to them. And on the label, they printed, only watch the theatrical cut. The director's cut is awful. The theatrical cut is the real director's cut. Or something like that.
Wow. That's a nice little fuck you to the director.
That's a little weird.
Both of them were great. I think that I need to think from my whole perspective about J-horror. It's a good introduction. I want to spend some more time with the other subgenres that you were talking about. Some of the balls to the wall.
Those are more favorites.
I think I would have a lot more fun with that. But I think that these both were great movies. One could great. Please watch it tonight. And then message both Brandon and I and tell us about it. But I thought they were both great. I think that. I think it reminds me too that in my mind there's always two types of horror movies. There's the ones that are the balls to the wall, like I enjoy it because of all the ridiculous, great points of the genre. And there's also the other kind of horror movie, and you can have both. But there is also the other genre of horror that has something to say. And it has an intelligent story, and there's something going on. Reanimate is actually an example of both. It's balls to the wall, but it's also a phenomenal movie.
It does have a good story.
So I think that Ringu and One Missed Call were phenomenal stories, and it's always good to see those movies because it reminds me that you can do something quality and have a quality story within horror. So yeah, that's definitely, those are my picks. I kind of like, speaking of garbage, I want to hear about, like, Zach's experience was horrifying. So I got to hear.
Speaking of garbage, Zach.
Do you do this to yourself, bro?
No shit. All right, so let's talk about some bullshit. One, you ever heard of a movie called Cursed or Psycho Shark or Jaws of Japan?
Now, wait a minute. Are those the 3 separate titles that it has?
Yeah.
Okay, because Psycho Shark I've heard of, but I haven't seen it. And the other 2 titles I don't recognize.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Victor. So yeah, Jaws of Japan. For some reason, I'm just like, all right, there's a few movies I could watch, but I'm like, I want to see if there's a Japanese J-horror shark movie out there, because I love shark movies for the most part. I always put myself through, these terrible shark movies. And, I used to give the title of the worst shark movie to Sky Sharks, but...
Did you ever see Shark Exorcist?
Shark Exorcist, yes.
Yeah, good movie.
Stupid but hilarious.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, so Jaws of Japan / Psycho Shark is the absolute worst shark movie I've officially ever seen. At the very least, in Sky Sharks, you at least see some fucking sharks. Yes, they're in the sky. Yes, they're in the mechanical. Yes, there's a bunch of visual clutter in the fucking movie that makes no goddamn sense. But holy fucking shit, at least there's sharks, and at least there's something happening with a stable plot. This movie is just a found... No, you want to know what this movie is? This is fucking Teacher's Day. This is goddamn Teacher's Day, the shark movie equivalent. Because all it is a bunch of Japanese girls in bikinis dancing in front of a fucking camera for about an hour and a goddamn half to maybe an hour and 15 minutes, and there's one shark at the end of the movie. I can't tell if it was a mako or a megalodon or a goddamn great white, because they're standing in about 3 feet of water, then at the nowhere. Apparently this is like some shark fucking sacrificial lamb thing where this dude's just giving people cameras at this vacation resort, record yourself in a bikini, then I'm going to sacrifice you in about 15 minutes or something like that to this weird giant shark thing that you only see the fin of and a goddamn teeth thing, and it fucking jumps up 1,000 feet in the air and just kills everyone. I'm like, what the fuck is this movie?
Very angry.
Oh, he's been waiting. Like, I can tell this. Like, he's been waiting to talk about this.
He's very angry.
Yeah, oh my. Dude. And you're also thinking no rap about bananas?
No, there was no rap, there was no nothing. It was just a bunch of girls in bikinis and like 3 feet of water just dancing and going, oh my god!
Yeah, but you're selling the movie now.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not selling this movie. This movie is an hour of awfulness. It makes no goddamn sense. It is boring as all hell, and half the time I'm just thinking, what am I doing with my life?
So the movie got you to think deeply about yourself. That's good. That's a plus.
I could tell that this is a very therapeutic movie for you. To really express your feelings of just utter disdain.
Where did you see this?
Tubi.
Oh yeah, Tubi.
I was just like,
too.
I googled. I'm just like, all right, where can I watch this movie? Tubi. Oh, that's free. Fuck it. Let's go check it out. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
There's a reason it's free.
I should have watched Bikini Zombie Slayers of Tokyo. Yeah. No, I could have watched that. No, instead I decide, no, let's go watch Jaws of Japan or Psycho Shark.
You could have watched One Cut of the Dead.
That movie's overrated.
Dude, you need to. You know
Mostly
what?
by you guys.
See the damn movie and then we'll talk. You know what though? He does this to himself. I know he does this to himself because I don't know, like, if he wants to, like, just... He's like one of those, like, it's like being a Cubs fan in 2005. He's like, I just want one win. Just one. Just one shark movie that's a win. Please just give me one.
You have your one. It's called Jaws.
And that's it. And then, like, maybe Deep Blue Sea if you're in a pinch. Like, and that's it. Like... And then maybe The Reef, then it's a good-looking film. But yeah, for the most part, they're all going to be hot garbage. It is amazing though you found a new basement though. That is pretty fucking impressive.
That's an achievement. That's something.
They Brandon and Zach both sat here and did a separate 20-minute podcast to shit all over Sky Sharks about how it is the worst shark movie ever. It's truly baffling that you have now found a new basement.
I didn't think I was going to find a new low. I honestly didn't. Like, I'm mind blown by how fucking awful that movie was. It's just...
Did you watch any other J-horror, Zach?
I watched
the
one.
J-horror you went for?
Yeah, so the other movie... Are you familiar with Fatal Frame by any chance, the game series or anything like that?
Oh, it's a phenomenal game series.
Okay.
Phenomenal game series.
So... when it comes to the Fatal Frame games, I've only played I played a little bit of 2 a long time ago because my buddy of mine told me about it, but I haven't actually given it the proper time it deserves. But for the channel, I was playing through Fatal Frame that came out for the Wii back in like 2015. I thought it was supposed to be a brand new game for the PS5. I was horribly fucking wrong. But apparently this is like the black sheep of the Fatal Frame series, so it's not really all that good for a plethora of reasons. But since I played the game, I figured, you know what? Let me check out the movie. It's Japanese, so I'm like, maybe it's not as bad as, all these shitty American video game-based movies that they have. Once again, I was horribly wrong.
So let me get this straight, Zach. Let me just understand this.
You watched a shark movie and a video game movie?
Yeah, that point. That fucking point. Exactly. You watched 2 movie series that, by and large, all of them are shit with like one or two good
They were
ones.
set up to die.
Fuck you.
Yeah, you absolutely deserve that.
You're only saying that because you have nothing else.
Yeah, you have nothing else. You deserve to have your time wasted. And by the way, and also from a personal perspective, that really does suck because Final Frame actually makes like number 1
Fatal Frame.
Fatal Frame makes 1 or 2 of the top 10 scariest video games of all time.
Oh, really?
Almost all.
Oh, that's cool.
Basically, like 2 sisters are trapped in a haunted house with nothing but a fucking camera. Like, that's the game.
2 girls, 1 camera?
Oh, jeez.
Yes, it is. Actually, they have 2 cameras. They have a camera each. But once again, a movie, that they do a fantastic video game on disappoints. What else is fucking new in life? What, Zach? Mortal Kombat? That's it?
Dude, Mortal Kombat is an amazing movie.
No. But like that's it for good movies.
If we want to talk about like good video game based movie, there's Mortal Kombat and then Sonic, depending on who you ask.
Super Mario Brothers?
Yeah.
Maybe that.
Okay, Super Mario Brothers is good, but not for the right reasons.
It's 3. It's fucking
Victor's right on this one.
There's 3. There's 3 good goddamn video game movies in existence, and you pick this genre.
Actually, you know what? Silent Hill's a good one. The
Fuck
first one.
I like Silent Hill.
You know what? You don't go out of there. You get out of here. You picked Alone in the Dark. Oh, you're an asshole.
No one's even seen the Alone in the Dark movie.
I have.
You're wrong.
I have. My brother and I watched it.
He's at like the one like that's.
It was awful.
That's like the producer of that movie is like watching his ticket counter of who's watching the movie. It's like, hey, we got one. We got one.
Some guy in Illinois is watching it.
Somebody cares about us. So yeah, shark movies and video game movies. Good job, Zach.
Look, somebody's got to do it. Because it sure shouldn't going to be you guys.
You got to watch the bullshit. So okay on a scale of awful like total trash.
Okay, so to be fair, the Fatal Frame movie wasn't awful.
Right.
Like, it was just more, I just didn't personally care for it.
Okay.
So, it actually, like, I'm sure this, like, because I actually, like, checked to see what people thought of each movie afterwards, and it's just like, okay, people actually like the Fatal Frame movie. It's in the Fatal Frame universe, apparently, but it has nothing to do with the goddamn camera, which I was slightly annoyed with. I would have liked to see them play with that little. No. It's just like a haunting story about this girl's sister who was, like, sacrificed by this Catholic school teacher or whatever. It's weird. It's a little weird. But again, not my thing.
I watched Zombie Toilet of the Dead. I can take weird.
It's slow, kind of boring weird, and even the ending, I'm just like, really? Like so kind of what happens throughout the movie. Everyone is obsessed with this one girl. Like, they're in a Catholic school, and all these girls love this one girl. Like, just obsessively. So this one girl, I have no idea what the hell their names are, by the way. So, I'll go with girl 1, gets a picture of girl that everybody's in love with, puts it on her wall, and kisses it. And apparently there's a tradition in the school where if you do that, you kind of like capture the soul of the person, and they haunt you. So now, anybody who like sees this picture, it becomes like even more obsessed, and if you kiss it, you die. But realistically what's happening is it turns out that it's really the girl's twin sister leading him to the place of her death because she was murdered as a kid and she wants to reunite with her sister to get some closure, and that's really it.
This goes back to that classic horror trope of like, just don't do that thing. Just like, just don't do that thing. Like, don't do it. Like, don't go to a fucking mirror and say Candyman 3 times, like, or 5 times, like whatever it is.
It's 5 times more.
It's 5 times, yeah. Like, just don't do that. Don't kiss the fucking poster.
The movie, like I said, it's not the worst thing in the world. Like, this one was actually like, it can honestly be an okay movie. It's just kind of meh for me. Nowhere near on the level of shit that was Jaws of Japan or Psycho Shark. Fuck that movie. It can run in hell for all goddamn eternity for all I care. But that's besides the point.
Zach, so where can you find Jaws in Japan on Tubi?
If you want to find Jaws of Japan, you can watch it on Tubi. We are not sponsored. Tubi, sponsor us because I talked about one of your movies that for some reason you decided to host.
How can Tubi sponsor us? You don't pay for anything, so...
Yeah, it's free.
They got to make money somehow.
Ad space. All right. Moving on from Zach's rant that he put upon himself.
All right, Zach. Before we move on from you,
I actually have a question for everybody here. Because since nobody's talked about Godzilla yet, and Godzilla is a Japanese monster, and that was the Japanese monster movies that I actually grew up with. What is everybody's favorite Godzilla movie in this circle? Because I assume each of you have seen at least one of them, with the exception of probably Mark.
I have seen the 98 one that I'm still trying to forget about.
So you haven't even seen a Japanese Godzilla movie?
No, I've never seen a Japanese Godzilla movie.
Get the fuck out.
I haven't. I didn't grow up with it.
You've had a year to prepare for this podcast, and you haven't watched a single Godzilla movie?
I did way more homework than you did.
Almost statistically impossible.
I do want to say that, honestly, to me, I consider all the Godzilla movies monster movies, not horror movies. So when I was talking about J-horror, I'm thinking the gore, the over-the-top, the silliness. They're monster movies.
I'm going to go with that.
That's fair.
But to your question, Destroy All Monsters and Son of Godzilla.
Really? Son of Godzilla?
I liked Son of Godzilla.
Okay.
It was ridiculous and stupid.
Oh,
I
you're
loved it
not-
because I watched it when I was a kid, so I loved it.
All right, so if you want ridiculous and stupid, you didn't choose Godzilla versus Hedorah?
All right. Okay. Hedorah, that was a bad one. I did like Godzilla versus Megalon, too. And that was another one of those that, some of the monsters that got really ridiculous in some of them.
Oh, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Fucking hilarious.
But that's what made them fun.
Brandon, you got a favorite one?
That one's a hard one for me because, in terms of actual quality, the original and Shin Godzilla, which I watched recently, were both really good. So in terms of movie quality, those are probably the 2 best ones. But in terms of my emotional connection to the movies, I can't deny the nostalgia that I have for Destroy All Monsters and Godzilla vs. Destroya.
Oh, yeah, that's another good one, too.
Great.
Oh, and Godzilla 2000.
Really?
Also a really good one. I actually saw that one in theaters.
I don't know if I'd call
I didn't think
Godzilla
it was
2000
bad,
good,
Okay.
but that is the first one I saw in theaters when I was a kid.
Oh,
So
okay,
I don't know if it holds up at all, but it's one that I have a lot of nostalgia for.
In my opinion, it does hold. I don't watch it English dub because it's kind of hilarious, but it holds up pretty well.
It's kind of hilarious.
It's a kind of cool, serious, kind of dark, destructive movie. Not too dark, but it does a good balancing. It's so
Nice.
yeah.
And it came out during that time where you put 2000 at the end of every title.
Oh,
right,
those were good times.
right, because it was a new millennium. That was the thing.
That is
So I got
correct.
people to watch it.
So Brandon, what are some picks that we missed?
Okay. Bloody Muscle Bodybuilder in Hell.
That is a
AKA
mouthful.
Japanese Evil Dead.
What?
It's only
and I haven't seen or heard of this?
It's only a half hour or 45 minutes. It's not long at all. It's less than an hour long.
It's a TV episode? What is
Lon's going to go on a rant about missing this
What?
movie.
I can't believe I've never even heard
I
of this.
saw it at Music Box of Horrors.
Okay.
And there is no North American DVD release or streaming release of it. There's a region.
That sounds like a challenge.
There's a Region 2 DVD.
Okay.
At one
If I stream it,
point,
doesn't
about a year and a half ago, I think it was Code Red announced they were working on a North American release. But I don't know what's happened, with all the COVID delays that have happened and everything. Who knows what's happening with that? I found-
Text me that title again.
Have you
we
tried
won't do
looking
it now.
on YouTube? for
Yes. I have looked everywhere. I've been wanting to show so many people this movie.
Do you have Plex?
How did
I'll
Music
find
Box
it.
get a hold of it then? Because you saw this
They
in
had a
Music Box
print.
of Horrors,
I
right?
had an actual print.
They had a print.
Wow.
So text me that. I won't waste
Yes.
your time now, but because that's a long ass title. But
Yes. Bloody Muscle Bodybuilder in Hell. Think of it as Evil Dead, but instead of Ash, you have a bodybuilder.
Everything about that sounds
And
great.
it's a Japanese ripoff of Evil Dead, but it's awesome.
Fair
Sounds
enough.
fun.
I'm in.
I'm so in.
It's
I'm gonna find that tonight.
awesome. If you find a way to watch it, send it to
I
me.
will let you know.
Because there are so many people I've been wanting to show this movie to.
Nice.
I've been talking about it for what, like 2 years now?
It was
And-
2019, so 2 years.
Yeah, for 2 years now, and it's like I want to see it again. I want to show it to my friends. I loved it.
Okay, well, you definitely found one that nobody knows of. That's. What else?
Then of course there's As the Gods Will,
Oh yes, here we go.
recommended to me by Victor over there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was good. It was a good time. So it's about high school students that are basically forced to play children's games, and a lot of them die if they lose and all that. And I'm watching this, and I'm just like, this feels like what people have been telling
I
me
was gonna
Squid
say,
Game is.
Gosh, Brandon, that sounds a lot like Squid Game.
I have not watched Squid Game, but from what I know about it, it sounds a lot like Squid Game ripped this off.
Brandon, is this the thing with that red ball-headed
Yes.
thing in the? Oh, that
Yeah.
fucking movie.
Yes.
Oh.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, good movie.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Same director as One Missed Call and Audition.
Nice.
Yeah, I think this one's superior.
It's good.
Yeah.
So
It's fun.
good special effect. I did see a couple scenes. They
Yeah.
did have some scenes on YouTube. I did see the trailer and whatnot. So the first game literally is just like red light, green light, and the animation of that silly red-headed god or whatever that was absolutely well done.
Yeah.
That looked very well done. When was that movie made?
2000 and...
Like 12. Wait, I've got it down here, don't I? 14.
14.
Okay. So that makes sense as to why at least they had money behind it
Yeah.
to do that.
And it was a really cool time.
Okay.
I agree.
Yep.
All right.
And it's like, because like the marketing, like the red balls, like all over the marketing of it, but it goes so much beyond that. And there are so many.
The
new
cat?
Yep.
The cat that
I
waves
loved
its
the
hand.
cat with the mouse suits.
Yeah.
Kick the can at the end.
Oh, I didn't see that.
That was
Didn't
a
see
good
that.
one.
Kick the can. There's a couple meetings in there. When you die, you
Indeed.
kick the can.
Yeah.
That could be. Thank you very much.
Of course.
I liked it. I recommend it.
But you haven't seen.
I have not seen
Squid Game. So it seems like they've stolen that, but really, playing kids' games or you die is not that uncommon of a theme in Japanese horror movies.
Okay.
There's a few anime who like do stuff like that.
And there are some animes
Yeah.
that do that as well. So I wonder, do you think that Squid Game ripped off?
Just Korea ripped off Japan?
Yeah.
Wouldn't be
You
the
don't have
first
to
time
put
it
it
happened.
that way. You could try to put it a little more politically correct, but because let's face
Have
it,
you been listening to the podcast a lot? Which podcast
At
do
some
you
point,
think
I'm
you're
gonna
on,
be the
sir?
reason we get canceled.
Yeah, no, that's not the first time that's happened.
I was gonna
I've
say,
seen Old Boy. Korea doesn't need to rip off
Okay,
Japan.
all right, well, yeah, old boy.
They've got a lot of cool stuff of their own.
So, because the thing is, that was not too many people have heard of As the Gods Will, but
Yeah.
everybody knows of the Squid Game.
My dad has watched Squid Game.
Everybody knows Squid because Netflix picked it up.
Yeah.
So that's how it got its distribution. But everybody knows about that one, not the other one. So now everybody's going to look at it and think that As the Gods Will ripped off, unless they look at the date, of course, but ripped off Korea.
It happens. Happens a lot, unfortunately.
Maybe I don't know, because I remember like years ago I actually saw that whole like red light and green light bit with the red light demon looking head monster thing, and that's actually what made me go watch the movie, because I was
Yeah.
just like, well, this is pretty cool, and it was all over like Facebook and shit like that, so that's why I was like,
Kids
check this out.
exploding. It was
Yeah.
pretty cool.
But it looked like it was more of a campy uptake
Yeah.
of that theme of playing a kid's game. When you die, really
As the
over the top.
Gods Will looks a lot more colorful than what I've seen in Squid Game.
Right. Squid Game's extremely colorful when you come through like the hallways and all the bright colors because the kid stuff.
I've only seen a few I haven't seen any clips. I've only seen screen grabs, and it just looks very desaturated and gray. But I trust that those are certain scenes.
Right, certain scenes. Because they try to make that world like they're captive, but they're not really captive in Squid Game.
Okay.
So they try to make that seem gray. All their suits are green, and the room they're in is gray, and they get simplified meals, like literally they get a bottle of pop and an egg to eat for the day or whatever. But there's other scenes that are extremely colorful because they're kid games, so they go really over the top with that. But having said that, so the stuff that I have seen from the As the Gods Will, it's because they're cartoons practically.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, and I know it's animation, but they stretch their shapes and they go a little bit, whoa, 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 and they make more of a kid's.
They do look like
like animation. They look like
animation. They look like kids' toys brought to life.
Yeah.
The toys are toying with us.
So they make it more fun. It looks like, and this is only from literally a few scenes that I've seen in the trailer. They make it seem like it's more of a la kids show. Squid Game is way more serious.
Okay.
Way more serious. Way more dramatic. They get into the lives of They get into the lives of all the
I swear I will watch Squid Game after I watch Midnight Mass and after I finish Brand New Cherry Flavor. I do want to watch horrible habit of getting like 2 or 3 episodes into a Netflix show and then moving on to something else.
The ADD, it's a struggle.
It sometimes happens with Netflix.
The first episode of Squid Game is going to be pretty slow because it's the setup.
Okay.
At the end of that episode, then you get into it, but hold out for it. It's good. Only 8 episodes? 10? 9? Yes. There you go.
I'll finish Queen's Gambit at some point too.
I get punched.
I'll finish Queen's Gambit at some point.
Oh my God! You haven't even finished Queen's Gambit?
I got like 10 minutes in, and then something happened that was actually pretty important that I needed to take care of, and I just haven't gotten back.
That's another phenomenal series.
And any more that we missed, Brandon?
Sorry, we diverted a little.
Dude, you know what? We've gotten a lot better with that. Like we used to go on all kinds of fucking crazy tangents. I think it was Zach.
Mark, start wrapping it up.
So anyway,
just like cut it off. Give it like we should just end on us looking at each other.
But a separate cut of everybody.
Yeah. So I don't have a question for the podcast either.
Machine Girl. Machine Gun Girl, just like gunning down bullies. It was awesome.
Machine Girl was one of those that, to me, that's right up there with all the other ones because it's body mod sort of stuff. But that was really low on the body mod. She's the only one who really had a body mod, right? It was an actual weapon that was put on.
She definitely modified some other bodies with bullets.
Well done.
On that note, Brandon, take us out. For the love of God.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Nightmares Podcast. Or if you're not watching us on YouTube, thank you for listening to us. You can check out all of our other previous episodes of the Nightmares Podcast on YouTube or wherever podcasts are available. Also be sure to look us up on all of our social media at Midwest Horror Network on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and
Slasher.
And, of course, if you are watching us on YouTube, if you could be so awesome to stab that like button, smash that subscribe, and click that little dingy bell to be notified every time we drop amazing content. Lon's seen me do this a couple of times. Just a few times. But Lon, this opportunity is for you to plug anything you're doing directly into that camera. The floor is yours.
We do. I'm one half of Black Martin Brands. Black Martin does horror and such monster-themed products. We make most of it ourselves. We do have a lot of other things like pins, buttons, patches, purses, and handmade dolls, one-of-a-kind, scary, gory, absolutely terrific. Go check them out at blackmartin.shop. You can also find us on Facebook, Black Martin Brands, and Amy's Abominations, also amy'sabominations.com.
And actually, if you want to switch over to Brandon for just a second, if you look directly behind Brandon, one of Amy's is right there behind.
Yeah. Grab it. I'm like, what the fuck is he saying? There you go.
we have little Sam Hain here.
There you go, right right there. Some really awesome shit.
Mark, you've seen this movie, right?
Oh my God, Mark!
They go relax.
What?
I'm taking this.
This is a staple in horror.
Oh my!
You don't deserve this, Mark.
Put it back. I paid for it. My hard-earned money.
And now it's mine.
No. Thank you so much for checking out this podcast. We'll see you next time on the Nightmares Podcast.